which is our favorite low-key signing in free agency. You can start off with this.
So the first one for me that came to mind instantly when we thought of this discussion was Juju Smith-Schuster, because it was just a 1 year, $10-ish million deal, but only $3 million, I think, was guaranteed. The Chiefs.
Oh, really? I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it's a really, really cheap deal. The Chiefs have long needed a solid number 2 receiver opposite Tyreek Hill. But now, since we mentioned
Tyreek's
earlier,
gone.
Hill's gone. So I'm a huge Juju defender, but it's clear he's not a number 1 receiver.
Yeah.
But he's a lot better than what people say, but he's not
I
a number
completely
1.
agree with you.
So they definitely need to draft someone, or I think they should even go after Odell Beckham, even though we know he's not going to be healthy for the start of the season.
Yeah, I mean, Odell's been toying with every team on Twitter. I love it. It's entertaining as hell.
But since that happened, I'll go another route for some under-the-radar signings. We still don't know what the quarterback position is. There's been no news whatsoever. But I've really liked what Carolina has done elsewhere on the roster this offseason. They're building a solid all-around roster. We know they had one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL last year. When they played Miami, they got absolutely destroyed. It was one of the worst offensive line performances I've ever seen. But they signed center Bradley Bozeman from the Ravens, who I think he was a top 10-ish quarterback or center from Pro Football Focus last season. And check this, it was just a 1 year, $2.8 million deal. And only $1 million of it was guaranteed. Matt Paradis and Pat Elflein, they had them at center last year. They were both terrible. And then they also signed Austin Corbett from the Rams, 3 years, $29.25 million. It's a bit more expensive, but it's a solid signing. And
wait, 3 years, what was it? 29?
29.25.
Okay.
And their guards, John Miller and Michael Jordan, they were also terrible last year.
They have MJ?
Not that one, but yes, they have him. They could move Pat Elflein out from center to the other guard spot. And with the offensive line, you really I think the correct method to building one is acquire a lot of good pieces rather than going after one elite piece, because one weak link on an offensive line can really ruin
the whole unit.
And so even if you have like a Penny Sewell, if the rest of your offensive line is terrible, it won't matter. That's why I thought the Bengals should have drafted Jamar Chase last year. And also another move that the Panthers did, they acquired safety Xavier Woods, just 3 years, $15 million. They needed a safety opposite Jeremy Chin because they had like 3 guys rotating in and out last year. It's another really cheap deal. So even though they're probably almost definitely not going to be a good team last year because currently Sam Darnold is still the quarterback, I like what they've done elsewhere.
I love all the group signings or the grouped signings that you just did. I think the Panthers are going to be terrible, but those pieces will really help out. I mean, obviously on Bozeman, it's only for a year, right? But I mean, maybe Bozeman gets more money after that. Maybe he stays with the Panthers. It's still a good signing because helps out McCaffrey, Hubbard, whoever in God's name the quarterback's going to be. It's probably going to be Darnold, which is terrible. But so I have 2 of my favorite low-key signings. I'm going to start off with a hometown favorite, Malcolm Butler for the New England Patriots. 2 years, $9 million. It's pretty obvious why I love this. He won us the Super Bowl in 2014. It's not even that. He might not be the best corner for the Patriots like he used to be. Because
wasn't that also your first NFL game?
That was also my first NFL game with Super Bowl 49. And that was the best way. That was the best way for me to be introduced into football, was watching that and then watching Malcolm Butler. The Jermaine Curse catch happened on him, right?
I think it was him.
Yeah. So, and then going to the goal line interception, which we later find out that he was getting beat in that in practice because they knew they ran it a lot. Seattle ran that play a lot in the goal line. And then Browner was like, hey, you got to do this. And then he did in the Super Bowl. Best way to be introduced to football, I think there is imaginable. That, or if you got into it in the 28-3 year. I'm talking about as a Pats fan, obviously. But so I love that just because it's more of like a culture signing, because like everyone in New England loves Malcolm Butler. Obviously, there was a thing in the Super Bowl, 52 Eagles Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's 52.
Where something happened beforehand. I forget what it was. It was like a practice thing or something like that. where Belichick benched him except for special teams, and that screwed us because Nick Foles dotted us up. I mean, it would have been great to have our number one corner out there, but no, we didn't. And I hate Bill Belichick for that. I love you, Bill Belichick. I hate you for that decision because we could have won a Super Bowl if you didn't care about him doing whatever he did. I forget what it was, but I love that signing just because it's like a hometown favorite. Whether he's the best corner or not, I don't care. I love that signing.
The poor Patriots without that one Super Bowl. You must feel so
It hurts.
horrible.
It hurts. But secondly, this one is actually like a more football related one than the Malcolm Butler one. Raheem Moster to the Dolphins. I love that because I believe he used to play for the Dolphins, like when he was like a practice squad, barely in the league guy. And it was cheap. It was 1 year, $3.125 million. Now we know Mostert. We know what he's there for. He's an explosive running back with a bunch of speed. Obviously, he's had some injuries, but he's back with Mike McDaniel, who's with the 49ers, like Mostert was, where Mostert had the most success of his career.
49ers East.
Basically. But I love this signing because he really brings a lot of dynamic to this Dolphins running game that they never had before. Obviously, they now have Chase Edmonds, but he's more of a receiving back. We all know that. Okay, I mean, he does break off some big runs, but then we have Myles Gaskin, who I hate how Myles Gaskin plays football. He's the most boring running back to watch. I don't even want to get into it. I hate Myles Gaskin, how he plays football. But Raheem Mostert brings that explosive dynamic that Miami hasn't had since Jay Ajayi, who wasn't even fast, Lamar Miller, that sort of thing. I think he's really going to help out this run game. I think that's going to help out Tua a lot, obviously, because the run game helps out the quarterback, goes hand in hand. And then lastly is another Dolphin signing, Connor Williams. Solid offensive lineman signing. I mean, it's nothing like special, but I mean, he's a starting guard who will help you out a lot. And Dolphins have need that.
And he's still just 25 years old.
Yeah.
Former second-round pick. I think he only got like $7 million guaranteed over 2 years.
Yeah.
So it's a really cheap, high potential signing. And you didn't even mention Teron Armstead, who they signed. And it's a really solid deal. He's one of the best tackles in the NFL. And based on the money, I think he's around like, if you take out incentives, like the 18th highest tackle, somewhere in that range. If you take out incentives.
Where do you think he ranks amongst tackles?
Easily top 10.
Yeah, 100%. But do you think any higher?
Maybe top 5.
Yeah, I was gonna say like who do you got top 5? Like, Trent Williams number 1.
Williams, Tyron Smith.
Yeah.
Andrew Whitworth retired.
Trent, no. He's somewhere in the top like 10, but
right. He's in the range, so I really like both of those offensive line signings. The Dolphins are easily some of the winners of this offseason.
Playoffs?
I can't go that far because of the AFC
but
they should be in the mix at the very least.
Gotcha.
But also I really liked, it's not really too under the radar, but the Bengals, another team, Panthers, Dolphins, and the Bengals all vastly improved their offensive lines, which needed it. Added Lyle Collins, Alex Kappa, Ted Karras. And like I said earlier, it's better to get multiple solid pieces than one great piece on the offensive line. So Jackson Carman is really the only iffy spot on the offensive line right now. And they can probably address that in the draft.
Yeah.
But the last under the radar additions I wanted to touch on was Tennessee, who we mentioned earlier. Obviously, they let go of Julio Jones. That was a failed experiment. He couldn't stay healthy. Didn't really produce when he was healthy. So they went and traded for Robert Woods for just a 6th-round pick. And he got injured last year, but for just a 6th-round pick, like it's worth taking a shot. And if he's healthy, he's a great fit for that system. He's always a solid number 2 receiver. They already have A.J. Brown. And also, they lost Jonnu Smith, the tight end, last year, and they didn't really have anybody last year. They had Jeff Swain was their starting tight end. He started all 16 games, but he was mostly a blocking tight end. And Austin Ferkser led all tight ends with 291 receiving yards. Both of those tight ends were under 10 yards per catch. So they signed Austin Hooper to a 1-year, $6 million deal.
Wait, when did they do that?
I missed it too, actually. I saw it on the free agency tracker. I was like, wait, that happened. But yeah, they signed Austin Hooper to a 1-year, $6 million deal. Pretty good receiving tight end and another
When
weapon.
did that happen? I'm perplexed right now. When did that happen? I'm sorry to cut off your whole point. I'm just like,
when did this happen? It says how a Tennessee Titans practice squad player persuaded Austin Hooper to come to Nashville. Huh. Kevin Hogan was his college quarterback and close friend at Stanford. He convinced Austin Hooper. That was a Yahoo Sports article.
All right, well, whatever. That's insane. Then I mean, he's not like an insane tight end anymore, but it's still a very good signing that I didn't even know happened. So good for them. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Breaking news here on the podcast.
And is that all you got for?
Yep, I think I'm all right. You got anybody else?
No, no, but.